Hi everyone, this is Tanner and welcome today to the Championship Review Show. Today I'm also going to talk about my early thoughts on the Super Bowl that we do have and kind of where I'm leaning early on. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about and let's begin here with the Seattle Seahawks beating the Los Angeles Rams 31 to 27 in one of really the best games of the season. That term has been used a lot due to the incredible regular season we've had in the NFL. It's truly been one of the better ones that I think we've seen. But this game really lived up to the billing. And let's start with the team that lost, the LA Rams. And really, what an amazing season this team had. I don't want to sell that short, even though, yes, the Seahawks won and the Rams lost. I mean, this offense played amazing. Matthew Stafford was throwing dimes left and right, all over the field. I had a feeling that Seattle's defense was going to be playing pretty well this game. They struggled, and Matthew Stafford, I mean, just credit to him, the job he did. Ultimately, the season he had is historic. You had Puka Nacua going off. This was the Puka Nacua versus the JSN game, kind of the two elite receivers, one for the Rams, one for the Seahawks. It reminds me so much of the old days of Julio Jones versus Antonio Brown, who's better. Julio Jones and JSN are very similar, very good route runners. Puka Nacua and Antonio Brown are more of those guys that kind of haul in those tough catches, that go up and get it type of deal, kind of late round steals. The thing though was back in the day, you had Julio Jones in the NFC South and Antonio Brown in the AFC North. So you hardly had them kind of play against one another. So the fact that we have Jason and Puka in the same division is a blessing, and that was just really cool to see them battle it out. Devontae Adams as well, one amazing game he had, and just a really ultimately special year for the Rams that falls short. But why does it fall short? What happened? Well, I think the running game is still something I'm a bit critical of with Sean McVay. Now, he ran it less, which I think was good. My thing going into this game was, hey, if you're going to lose, do it on the arms of Matt Stafford. And Stafford played well. It just ultimately, it wasn't enough, if you will, even though he played almost perfect. I still do think you need to fix the running game. I think Kyron Williams is a pretty good back, but I think if you had a back or just some kind of more of a run design to take over games or have kind of that home run, I think that would help a lot here. I kind of viewed the Rams and Seahawks running games going into the postseason very similar. Both are good, not great. But I think the Seahawks running game has elevated while the Rams has kind of regressed a bit. Speaking of regression, I really want to talk about this Rams defense because they have not played that well as of late. And I think this is a big reason why they lost. This was an offensive shootout from the NFC. And I think the Rams defense, there's just some issues to address. So for the first 13 games of the season, they give up only 17 points per game. And they played some really good teams during that stretch. You had the Jaguars offense, right? You had, I believe, Philadelphia during that time. You had, I think, San Francisco. You had some really good teams. You had the Buccaneers. There was a really good stretch of playing great defense. Chris Shula's name was up there for a future head coach, a current defensive coordinator for the Rams. It looked like this was one of the elite kind of 4 or 5 defenses in the NFL. But then, over the last 7 games, including the playoffs, they have allowed 28 points per game. 28. It was ever since that start of that Lions game. I remember it was, a regular season game. It was week 13 or 14. It was around there because I noticed a trend in the regression of the Rams defense. So I wanted to go back and kind of find that point. And it was at the Lions game. And ever since then, that stretch of 7 games, 28 points per game. So you go from allowing 17 points to 28. That's an 11-point difference. That is not great at all. So that's, I think, a huge thing for the Rams to talk about. Now, do I think all of this is on Chris Shula? No, I think Chris Shula is still a really good defensive coordinator. I still think he would be a great head coach. But I think the pass rush teams were able to pick up on that. This team got a bit of pressure with Sam Darnold in that game, but not really that much. This was a lot of Sam Darnold having clean pockets, getting the football out. I think the cornerback and secondary really regressed for LA. Emmanuel Forbes has had a nice season, but the other corners have not played as well in this game for the Rams. I do think there's a big need for that for Los Angeles. Can you just kind of get that lockdown corner? I think for a lot of the season, the Rams did a good job of playing defense by community in the secondary, where this guy does something here, this guy does something here, Kobe Durant here, Emmanuel Forbes here, boom, we're good. And they were for a while, but then I think teams such as the Panthers in the wild card round, the Bears a bit last week, but especially Seattle here, really took advantage of that. And I think that's a big need for the Rams going into next season. I think the pass rush is still pretty good. I still think Jared Verse Braden Fisk, Byron Young, those are great players, right? I still really do like them. I think after their rookie, like, I think Verse is really good. I'll say that. I think there's a bit of regression late. It's just seems like with the Rams as a whole, they were doing a lot of stuff really well at a defensive level. And it was due to great scheming. But I just think ultimately teams kind of caught on to it, and that's what had them lose. It reminds me a lot of the San Francisco 49ers offense, where the Niners, due to injuries, just had a lot of guys out. But they're able to make a really good offense due to some key pieces, but just great scheming from Kyle Shanahan, but eventually caught up to them. Funny enough against the Seahawks, right? The Niners lost last week to the Seahawks. And I think the Seahawks are just such a complete team that when a team has a weakness, they're able to exploit it. And that was this Rams secondary. So I'm just very interested to see where this Rams team goes. If Matthew Stafford plays another year, awesome. I'd love to see it. I think watching Matthew Stafford play football is amazing. But do you get a quarterback to develop under Stafford, right? You know, part of the Matthew Stafford thing is awesome when he plays at a high level, and this was an amazing game. I mean, this is up there with one of the better playoff performances from a quarterback. I mean, he was going all over the field. Deep, middle, left, right. He was afraid of nothing. But the thing is, what's the succession plan there for Stafford, right? Do you draft someone? Do you take a flyer on a quarterback to have them develop? I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then, okay, Devonta Adams, does he stay here? Do you get another receiver? Do you maybe draft one of the Indiana receivers in the second round? Elijah Surratt, I think that could be fun. You know, like I said, how do they address corner? I think there's a lot of questions for the Rams. You still, though, have one of the top-tier coaches in the game. I think Sean McVay is amazing. I really do. I think Sean McVay is one of my favorite people in the NFL. As a personality guy, he just seems like a great dude. Really fun, high energy, very knowledgeable. I think he's a really great coach. And I'm interested to see how this Rams teams adjust. And where they're able to go from here. But you can just tell how, and I think this team has a lot of good building blocks. You know, Sean McVay, after this game, after this loss, was very defeated. And you could just tell it meant a lot to him. But I almost think that it speaks to how good this team is, the building blocks here. This team has 2 first-round picks. Things are bright for the Rams' future. You know, are they going to be back here next year? I don't know. But I think overall, there's a lot of great foundational building blocks to build upon. And I think the fact they're able to get here in a tough NFC, the fans should be proud of it. They really should. Next up here, you have the Seattle Seahawks. And the Seattle Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl. Woo! Pretty happy there. I'm not a Seahawks fan, but I'm a Ravens fan. And Mike McDonald here is, you know, from the Ravens. So it feels like, in a way, the NFC Ravens are headed to the Super Bowl. Oh, man, whatever coping I can get to deal with the Ravens. I'm excited for Jesse Minter, though. But in all seriousness here, we have the Seahawks here going and back to the Super Bowl here. Really, really just exciting for this team, for this organization, for so many levels. And this was just a really amazing game, to be honest. I really think with Seattle, when you look at this game, Sam Darnold is a story. I mean, Sam Darnold was fantastic from start to finish. He really was. I thought this was a complete game from him. There was a lot of talk about, can Darnold deliver in the big moments, right? Can he come through? And he did. And he did. And he's a big reason of why this graphic is here, of why the Seattle Seahawks are Super Bowl bound. And Jason was amazing, as I said earlier. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, excellent play calling from his standpoint of getting guys open on different routes and stuff. Yeah, Jake Bobo had a touchdown in this game, which was cool to see. The running game was great. The defense wasn't perfect, but they made enough plays here. They really held the Rams early in some aspects. Special teams forcing fumbles, a complete picture here for the Seattle Seahawks. And I do think this team's underrated. I think this is one of the most underrated teams of the past 10 years. From really a variety of standpoints. I mean, Sam Darnold, for me, is a top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he played like a top 5 quarterback this year. Top 5, top 6, around there. I mean, he's amazing. Sometimes you have a bad pick or two, but his arm, his accuracy, all over the field, it's just fantastic, right? It's amazing. And yes, there'll be mistakes, but when it's good, it's really good. And it's his ability to forget, right? The ability to audible, the ability to move on. I just think is really amazing, to be honest. And I think that We saw in this game come together. When it was necessary, he delivered, and the pressure didn't get too big to him. And he's had such a career of just fighting back, fighting through, and that really showed. So you have Sam Darnold, who's underrated. I think Jason is an elite receiver. I think he's up there with Puka Nacua, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. I still think Jamar Chase is the best receiver, but Jason's making it close. Okay, so you have those. But then, no, we're not done. Then you have Jake Bobo, who's a great 3 or 4 receiver. Then you have Rashid Shaheed, who's great on returns, great at stretching the field. So you already have Jason to worry about if you're a defense facing the Seahawks. Then you have Rashid Shaheed and his speed. You're like, oh man. They have Cooper Kupp, who got a clutch first down in this game. Just knows the NFL. Great route runner. Boom, can hit that. Then you have an offensive line that's improved. But, are they amazing? No, but it's still a good O-line. They have Kenneth Walker, who's just running over this Rams defense. Boom, boom, boom. Strength, speed. He looks amazing. He's playing really good. So you have that. You have a great play caller, as I said. Okay, well, the defense gets better. No, it doesn't. If you're an opposing team, it is not easy to face the Seahawks defense. You have DeMarcus Lawrence, who's going to his first Super Bowl. That's awesome. The former Cowboy. He signed here with the Seahawks. I did not love that move. He proved me wrong. He is a game wrecker. Okay, then the interior of the D-line is better, right? If you're an opposing quarterback, nope, you got Byron Murphy flying at you. Okay, secondary. Elite cornerback in Devon Witherspoon. Oh, we have a great rookie safety. I mean, it just really gets so good. Like, if you're an opposing quarterback, how? And the opposing offense, it's just so hard to get things done. You might say in this game, well, Tanner, Kobe Durant, the cornerback, had a taunting penalty and gave up a touchdown. Guess what? This team built him back up because of the awesome culture Mike McDonald has. And even the game where the defense struggled, right? They were not perfect here. The reason this graphic is on screen, the reason it's here, is because they have the complete picture. If one area of the Seahawks struggle, the other is going to meet it. And that's what makes this team so complete. I think there's a real argument to be made that if they win the Super Bowl in a pretty convincing fashion, I think the Seahawks team is probably a top 15 team of all time. I mean, I think of the past decade, I think the 2020 Bucks and last year's Eagles come to mind. I would probably take this year's Seahawks team above last year's Eagles team. I think it's a better passing attack. I think Sam Darnold's a bit better than Jalen Hurts. I do. I think Jason's an elite receiver. And I think the Seahawks defense would beat the Eagles. So I would have the Seahawks over the Eagles. It's tough against the 2020 Bucks because you had Tom Brady on that team. You had a really good defense. You had an awesome O-line. But anyways, the point is they're a really awesome team, right? And I think could be like one of the best teams of all time. And Mike McDonald as well. I mean, he's a top 5 coach already. You could argue top 4. I mean, this dude, he just gets results, right? He just gets results. And I love how after the game, when the lime green and blue confetti is falling here, Seattle is elated. First time going back to the Super Bowl since 2014. Mike McDonald, he's up there. He's courageous. He's firm. He's excited. Everything you want a leader to be. So all in all, this Seahawks team is amazing. I think this team really has a lot of excellent elements about them. And whenever they have a mistake, their ability to adjust and adapt is fantastic. And I do think that they are the best NFC team. They won down. They proved that, but I think that's true. I think they're better than any team in the NFC North. I think if they played the Bears, their defense would handle the Bears well. They handled the NFC West. I also think it's to get to the Super Bowl, they had to go through the Niners and the Rams. That's really neat. I think that's really awesome. They destroyed the Cardinals. They would beat any NFC South team, and then they would take care of the NFC East. So yes, I do think they are the best team in the NFL. Loaded with great talent. I think the coaching is just really amazing from all aspects of Seattle. And the thing is about the Seahawks that I think what makes them one of the best teams of all time, it's like, yes, there's a lot of superstars talent, but it's just the coaching. This roster could be better, right? You could add another edge. You could trade for a Max Crosby. You could draft, an edge or someone like that. And the fact they could be better, but they're still here, that's another thing that makes them really scary. And I know my take a week ago was, I think this is a one-time thing for Seattle for the Super Bowl. No, I think this is a mini dynasty. I think they could make a Super Bowl in a couple of seasons here. I think they could. And I think Mike McDonald has a firm foundation. I love to just kind of, last year was year 1 of Mike McDonald, and he fired his OC after 1 year. He fired the guy from the Bears, who he was from Chicago, Shane Waldron, he fired him, and a lot of people are like, okay, why? But then you bring in Clint Kubiak, and you see so much more success. And I think that ability to say, hey, Shane Waldron, thank you, but no, and the ability that the Seahawks moved on from Geno Smith to get Sam Darnold. They moved on from DK Metcalf. And I believe the second round pick they got was used to draft the rookie safety, Nick, right? Like, this team did so many moves that paid off so well, and it's that, I think, courage um, that just, amazing stuff. And I love watching this team play. I call the rookie safety Nick because I can never pronounce his last name, Eminwari. I think I got that right, but Nicholas, he's awesome to watch, right, at safety. This defense as a whole is just fantastic to watch. Julian Love, great safety. He had a great coverage play in this game against the Rams. So I really could go on and on about this team. They are amazing. They are so fun to watch. And the fact that the Seahawks, it seemed like after the Legion of Boom days, things were done, right? There was drama, and it really seemed like kind of like 2023, okay, yeah, because you had the Geno Smith run, right? Because Geno comes over to them in 2022. You were a playoff team in 2022, but couldn't get it done. It seemed like, okay, it's the Rams' time in the NFC, right? The Niners made the Super Bowl in 2023. You're thinking, okay, it's the other team's time in the NFC West. The Seahawks are back, and they have a chance to hoist the Lombardi. So special. So special. So special. Congrats, Seahawks fans. But we have another game to talk about here. Another game is going to be the Patriots here and the Broncos. In an opposite game, right? 10-7 was the final score in this one. A very defensive game here. And like with the NFC game, we'll talk about the losers first here with the Broncos. Ultimately, though, an incredible season from the Broncos. It did not seem like that long ago where the Broncos were in a bad spot. They were losing games, just a really bad culture, a really bad vibe. The Russell Wilson trade really didn't go anywhere. Head coaches were getting fired. Things just seemed like a lot of despair in Denver, right? It seemed very down. But just a job that Sean Payton's done, right? Got hired in 2023. Not only has he built a pretty good offense, but his culture as well is special. And I want to give the Broncos a lot of their flowers here. I thought this defense played really good in this game, especially in the first half. I mean, Drake May was under pressure pretty much the entire game early on from the Broncos. You had Jonathan Cooper, again, one of the more underrated edge rushers, I think, in the game, getting after Drake May. You had Nick Bonito as well getting after him. Tight coverage. It was hard for this Patriots offense to do anything. Now, I do think in the second half, they let up some deep throws. The Patriots got some things going here. I do think ultimately this Broncos secondary, like Patrick Surtain is an elite corner. I think he's one of the best players in the game, probably top 10. I do think you have a question on cornerback number 2. Riley Moss is good, but okay, do you need someone else? Kind of like the Rams, I think some of the secondary has question marks. I think Hufanga's a great safety, and I think Surtain's a great corner. Those are two really good pieces, but, can you get another piece here? That is one thing I do want to mention. But yeah, overall, the defense I thought was strong throughout. And really where New England got them was on those kind of trick plays. We had Drake May rushing it in for the touchdown, right? New England's only touchdown was Drake May running it in, as you can see here on the image, right? Drake May to run around the left side to end it and win it. It was New England kind of just with that offense elevation, with Josh McDaniels calling the right plays at the right time. And I think that's where New England won. And that's why I thought New England would win. Now, I thought the Patriots would have a lot more offensive success, but Denver's defense did really well for most of the game. The gist of it all, he also do want to discuss. The backup quarterback comes in. He had a great touchdown to Cortland Sutton. That was cool to see. He had a deep ball in here as well. He also had the pick from Christian Gonzalez. If Bo Nix is in this game, the Broncos do probably win. I'm going to be honest. I do think, though, that there's a couple things I want to talk about from kind of the play calling perspective. I do like the decision to go for it. I'll say that there. I know that's going to be controversial. The Broncos should have taken the field goals. Here's my opinion. Sean Payton's a very aggressive head coach when he calls games. He's also someone that'll go through it, right? You think back to the 2009 Super Bowl, Saints-Colts, where they go for the onside kick. The Saints do, and that helps them win. He's just been that way, right? He's from the Bill Parcells tree. He just goes for it, and I like him going with that. Both Sean coaches who lost went for it. And yeah, they lost, but they lost, I think, on the aggression. And I applaud Sean Payton for going that. It's kind of like how I viewed the Lions a couple years ago when they lost the NFC title game in 2023. Yeah, there was aggression and they lost, but at least it's their own brand, right? So I do. That's my take on that. That's probably gonna be unpopular, but that's kind of where I stand. And I think Sean Payton's done an excellent job with the culture in Denver. I mean, his team played tough. They only lost by 3 points here, right? And I love that defensive coordinator Vance Joseph. He's a really good DC here, but I do think while the culture is really good, I just think some of the play calling could be better from Sean Payton. There's a couple of end arounds in this game, a couple of reverses, a couple of weird plays from the offense where I'm like, oh, I don't know if that was the best play call. And I felt that last week, even when the Broncos beat the Bills. I just think, and throughout the season, I think sometimes Sean Payton gets in his own head a bit too much. But that's something that kind of, you kind of take it with his play calling. But I would like him to maybe bring in maybe a fresh new offensive mind, just kind of have more sprinkles here. It felt like the Broncos were going a lot of over the middle of the field, which is not a bad idea, but the Patriots are really good there. So yeah, ultimately though, Denver had an awesome season. I don't want to undercut that. And I think if you had another cornerback, and I also think another receiver too, like Cortland Sutton is a really good receiver, probably top 15 in the league. You have Marvin Mims, who has been nice this season. I still think you need that X factor, or maybe not an X factor, but just another piece that defenses need to kind of look in on. It seemed like this game, the Patriots defense was able to keen on a lot of Sean Payton stuff. So I think another kind of player could help there. But yeah, ultimately, what a season from the Broncos. And then the Patriots win it. They're back to the Super Bowl here for the first time since 2018, what a long time. And I kind of say that half jokingly, half don't. At the end of the day with New England, yes, that's a relatively short time. 7 seasons. But at the end of the day, I mean, this team, they had 2 back-to-back 4-win seasons before this. You had the Mac Jones miss, him not working out. You had the offensive coordinator issues where you hire a defensive mind to be offensive mind a couple seasons ago. This team was getting dominated by the Buffalo Bills. So, the fact that the Patriots are in the Super Bowl, yeah, it's a short time for some teams. But the fact that New England's back, I really do think is extremely special. And I do think the fact that Patriots are Super Bowl bound says a lot about this team. Part of the reason why they won, I think, is the superstars playing like superstars. Drake May, only 86 yards passing. Not great. Again, not great. But, hey, he ran it in. He made the big-time plays when he was called upon. And I think that's why you drafted him. One of my favorite things about this game is the Christian Gonzalez interception, where Christian Gonzalez, I believe, got his first NFL pick in this game. And Christian Gonzalez was drafted in 2023. So the fact that he's kind of been for the highs through the lows, he was here for both of the 4-13 seasons, and the fact that he got the pick to send New England to the Super Bowl, iconic. You gotta love it for him. But this team also just has so many just good players on this team. Caleb Von Chason, Milton Williams, Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, just so many guys who do their job, which is like the old Patriots, but it's also new. And I'm just so impressed with this team. I really am. The fact that they're here in the Super Bowl, I definitely thought, okay, there's a chance New England can make it, but they were in a tough conference. And the fact that they didn't. I know a lot of people have kind of made, said things that, the schedule's easy. I mean, you defeat the Chargers at home, great defense. Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback. You beat a great Texans defense at home. CJ Stroud struggled, but still. And then you beat the Broncos in Denver, in the snow, which was cool to see. And against a really good Broncos defense. And now you'll go up against a tough Seattle defense. So the fact that they won those 3 games, I think it's sometimes easy now to say, oh yeah, of course the Patriots won those. But it would also make sense if they lost those games. Oh yeah, they had a great defense. But the fact they overcame them is really great to see. So yeah, New England, they built this up here. They're back to the Super Bowl. I'm just happy for a lot of these players. Stephon Diggs finally going to the Super Bowl. Love it. Mike Vrabel getting there, right, as a coach. Just so many guys. Drake May, right, a year 2 quarterback. That's really cool. So just really, really happy for this team. And the fact that they're here is really neat. And I know I didn't spend as much time on the Patriots as the Seahawks. I just enjoy watching the Seahawks a bit more. But this is huge for New England to get back there, right? The fact that they are in the Super Bowl here, the fact that they're suited up to get the Lombardi, is a big deal. And let's go here and talk a bit about the game here that we have, the Super Bowl, the New England Patriots versus the Seattle Seahawks. So I will be doing a future podcast video here, really deep diving the Super Bowl, going kind of position by position, matchup by matchup. But I want to get my initial thoughts. So, 2023, we're going back here. Or 2022, we're going back even further. When the Super Bowl was announced, Kansas City Chiefs versus Philadelphia Eagles, I said, I'm happy my Eagles are in, but my first gut feeling was Chiefs are going to win. Chiefs end up winning in 2022. 2023, 49ers made it. Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, they're going up against the Chiefs. My first gut instinct was Chiefs are going to win, they won. Last year, the Eagles are back. Philadelphia's back in the Super Bowl. They're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. My gut feeling was Eagles are going to win. They did. When I first saw this, Patriots Seahawks, my gut instinct went New England. I think the Patriots win. Now, am I going to put that in concrete? No. But I think there's a couple of things to discuss. I think, first of all, the Patriots are getting disrespected. I love how much people are respecting Seattle and thinking that Seattle is going to win by 25 or 20 points. That's the way some people are talking. It really is. And at the end of the day, yeah, this team looks amazing, as I talked about. But I think a lot of people underestimate New England. You have Mike Vrabel as your head coach. As a Ravens fan, go back in time again, 2019. Baltimore Ravens have an incredible season. Lamar Jackson wins MVP. This team looks like they're at least going to go to the Super Bowl, if not win it. They play the Tennessee Titans in the divisional round. The Tennessee Titans are coached by Mike Vrabel. The Titans beat the Ravens. No one gave them a shot. The Titans did it. Mike Vrabel knows football. There's an instance in this Patriots-Broncos game. We did a late substitution that threw Denver off. This man knows football. There's been many videos of him knowing the rules. This man knows football. And he's in the Super Bowl. And he's not going to make this an easy win for Seattle. Seattle might win, and I can see why. But Mike Vrabel is going to make this tough. This is an extremely experienced head coach. And I think he can know kind of the weaknesses here of teams. So you like that. Okay, what else? Josh McDaniels is back in the Super Bowl. He did a great job, I think, in 2014 when the Patriots beat the Seahawks of coordinating said kind of comeback win for New England to have against Seattle. Now, again, Seattle, completely different team than they were 11 years ago, but McDaniels has always had a flair in the Super Bowl, I think, of how to coordinate an offense, right? I also think, too, you have Christian Gonzalez, an elite corner going up against JSN. I think he has the ability to kind of handle him. And the Patriots, as I mentioned, have gone up against 3 straight defenses and won. I just see a world where they are able to kind of figure some things out. Able to kind of navigate and say, okay. Another thing is, another point is the Seahawks head coach is Mike Macdonald. As I said, Mike Macdonald comes from the Baltimore Ravens. Another coach who comes from the Ravens is Anthony Weaver, who was the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins this past year. Both times New England went up against Miami, they won. Now, of course, there's the factors to that, and yes, the Seahawks defense is way better than the Dolphins, but the Patriots are kind of similar with this scheme. I think they know what works, what doesn't. I think they're able to kind of, pinpoint. I think a lot of the things that Drake May was able to do well is hit the sidelines, throw outside the numbers. And I could see, and that's what the Seahawks struggled with against the Rams. In that Seahawks-Rams game, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua were eating outside the numbers. And this is a field they were boom, boom, boom. So you could see that. So there's a lot to like here about why New England could win this game. And I just think sometimes the experience here, and I think just the way the Patriots match up, is really good. I also think they have that underdog on their shoulder. When's the last time the Patriots went underdog in the Super Bowl? I mean, you're maybe going back to 2001, Rams-Patriots, Greatest Show on Turf, Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk versus the Patriots, Tom Brady's first Super Bowl. Maybe go back to the Patriots-Packers in 1994 when you had Drew Bledsoe versus Brett Favre on Green Bay. I mean, it might be a while, But I think underdog helps New England. I really do. And I think that could be a big reason why New England wins. We'll see, though. But Seattle, I would not be shocked. I really wouldn't. This is in San Francisco, which is kind of funny. Division rivals for Seattle. And it's like, well, I could see a world here where the pass rush gets home to Drake May. this Seahawks pass rush is an issue, as I mentioned about DeMarcus Lawrence, and he could just really make life difficult for Drake May. I can see a world where Clint Kubiak is dialing up play action here, run here, and just hitting New England where it hurts. But this is going to be a very tough game. I think another thing is this Patriots defense is really good. So how does Sam Darnold do against them? But just, I think ultimately a really awesome game from a storyline perspective, where you have former number 3 overall picks, 2018 draft class Sam Darnold, the first quarterback from 2018 to make it to a Super Bowl. Not Josh Allen, not Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold. Number 3 pick here, Drake May from the Patriots. You have 2 Mike head coaches. You have the rematch 11 years later. You have 2 teams that I think play tough and physical. Another note that I wanted to mention why I lean New England early is I think the Broncos game could kind of help Drake May. He's been preparing for this game, for the Seattle game for a while, with going up against tough defenses. And I thought as the Broncos game went on, he got more comfortable. And that's another thing, too. Well, I could see this. Seattle has a lead early. They're up maybe a couple points. But then Mike Vrabel adjusts as the game goes on. But the other thing, too, that I'm like, well, Seattle could win it, is this running game. Seattle runs it very well with Kenneth Walker. They're also used to this stadium, right? The Patriots did play against the Niners last year in San Francisco, but they're not in there often. Seattle's used to this. They're used to the NFC West field, right? I could see a world here where, I mentioned Christian Gonzalez versus Jason. Maybe this is a Jake Bobo Super Bowl, right? The Seahawks receiver. Cooper Kupp makes a couple of clutch plays, and New England's focused on getting Jason, but then what about these other receivers, right? And I think Clint Kubiak is aware of that, right? And I think he'll be able to design some other stuff. So I could see a Super Bowl here where this comes down to Sam Darnold making a clutch play to one of these other receivers not named JSN, right? And the Seahawks, as I mentioned earlier, have so many great weapons here. And I think defensively, this pass rush could get after Drake May. Mike McDonald's going to not make things easy at all here. This is a great secondary. I do think the Seahawks secondary matches up very well against the Patriots receivers. Devon Witherspoon, Nicholas, the safety, I think could be a potential Super Bowl MVP. I could see that Drake May launching it deep, and then he picks it. So just a lot of things that could happen. My early lean is New England, but what a game. I love this matchup. And, I think this is going to be an exciting one. I really do. And that's the other thing, too, like, people are acting like this is going to be a Seattle blowout. No, as I said, I don't think it is. And every time these teams have played as of recent, it's been really exciting. You go to 2016, where we go to 2012, right? Legion of Boom is born. The Seahawks beat the Patriots in Seattle. Then 2014, you have the Patriots win the Super Bowl. Then 2016, you have Seattle winning New England in the last second finish. Then 2020, you had the Cam Newton-Russell Wilson shootout where Seattle wins. Then 2024, last year, you had the Seahawks beat the Patriots. I believe that game went to overtime. So these 2 teams, whenever it's New England, Seattle, Patriots, Seahawks, you're going to be getting a great game. And I'll be here in the future to cover. Thank you all so much for watching here. This was incredible to talk about. Really an exciting time in the NFL. And in terms of future content, I have NFL quarterback ranking of all time. I really like the way that turned out. We'll be talking about the head coaching kind of search when everything gets kind of finalized here. Talk about some other awards and whatnot. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching and enjoy.